Hello, my name is Cruz. I'd like to welcome you to another lesson in a telecourse for teachers and students of literature. This lesson is only for teachers. This is a lesson in literary theory. Remember that only we teachers need to know literary theory. Unless your students are literature majors in graduate school or college, unless they want to be literature teachers themselves, they do not need to know literary theory. What we want them to have is not a knowledge of literature, but an experience of literature, an appreciation of literature, a love of literature. We teachers, however, need to know literary theory to help us understand the text that we are teaching to our students. In other lessons, we talked about the expressive theory of literature, which focuses primarily on the lumikha, or the writer. In the expressive theory, we talked about how Emperor Shun, Confucius, Luci, Plato, and Freud view the likha, or the text, as an expression of what the lumikha is thinking or feeling. We also talked about the mimetic theory of literature, which focuses primarily on the nilikha, or the world. In the mimetic theory, we talked about how Plato, Aristotle, and other critics view the likha as a mirror or reflection of reality. We also talked about the affective theory of literature, which focuses primarily on the kalikha, or the reader. In the affective theory, we talked about how Plato and Aristotle view the likha as something that affects the reader, whether positively or negatively. We also talked about the formal theory of literature, which focuses primarily on the likhaan, or tradition. In the formal theory, we talked about how the new critics view the likha as existing within a tradition of literature, how it is important to know other texts while reading one text, how every likha is intertextual. In this lesson, we will focus on the fifth element of the literary experience, the likha. There are critics that view the likha not in relation to the lumikha, the nilikha, the kalikha, or the likhaan, but in itself. One of the tools that these critics use is called deconstruction. In order to understand deconstruction, let us first look at a particular kind of sentence. For example, let us look at this sentence, I am lying. Let me ask you, when I say I am lying, am I lying? If I am lying, that is, if I am not telling the truth, then I'm telling the truth because I am saying that I am lying. If I am not lying, that is, if I am telling the truth, then I am not telling the truth because I'm saying I am lying. This can go on forever. The sentence contradicts itself. There are many sentences of this type. For example, let us look at this sentence. This sentence is false. Is the sentence true or false? Do not believe me. Should you believe me? If you follow what I say, if you don't believe me, then why do you believe me? On the other hand, if you believe me, then you are not following what I say because I say do not believe me, but you believe me. Language is meaningless. Does this sentence have a meaning? Yes, it says that language is meaningless, but if it has a meaning, then language is not meaningless. These sentences are called self-referring. Sometimes, sentences of this kind are said to belong to meta-language or language about language. Whatever we call them, they are clearly problematic sentences. There is something wrong with them. Before deconstruction, we thought that there were only a few of these sentences. They were interesting, but they were not particularly important to humanity. Deconstruction says that all sentences, repeat, all sentences belong to this type. All sentences are self-referring. All sentences contradict themselves. That sounds like a really bad generalization. But listen to their argument. They say, and they got this argument from the structuralists, a group of linguists that followed the Swiss linguist Ferdinand de Saussure. They say that if you want to find out the meaning of any word in any language, what you do is you look for it in a dictionary. Now, there is a problem with the dictionary, with any dictionary. The definition of a word is composed of other words. All these other words can also be found in the same dictionary. If we look up every word in a particular definition, we will eventually end up with exactly the same word that we were trying to define. In other words, the dictionary is a self-contained circular thing, a mere book. We can never, ever get out of the covers of the dictionary and step into the real world. But a language is made up of words that are all in the dictionary. The dictionary is language. Therefore, every language refers only to itself. Every sentence, every line in a poem, every paragraph in a novel, every speech in a play, everything that involves words is self-referring, self-contradictory. Exactly like the sentence, I am lying. Language is lying. Language lies. When applied to the likha, this insight deconstructs the text. We find that every word in a literary text contradicts itself, contradicts all the other words, contradicts the work itself. Let us give a quick example by reading a poem using the tool of deconstruction. This is the most famous haiku in English. It was written by Ezra Pound. The title is In a Station of the Metro, the apparition of these faces in the crowd, petals on a wet black bough. Pound is describing something that happened to him as he was in the metro. The metro is a subway or underground of Paris. As the train stops at a station, the speaker compares the train to a wet black bough. That is a simple metaphor. The faces of the people peering out of the windows of the train are like petals on a wet black bough. Again, that is a simple metaphor. On the surface, it seems that the meaning of the poem is that the people on the train look like petals on a bough. But wait a minute. If we apply deconstruction, we have to suspect that the meaning we think we have uncovered is the opposite of what the real meaning is. We can understand why the bough is black because the train is black. It is dark inside the station. Everything seems to be black. But why wet? Why would the train be wet? Maybe the train is not wet. Maybe it just looks wet because the speaker is crying. Is that possible? Yes, because Pound is an American and he is not from Paris. When you are in a foreign country, not knowing anybody, you're alone, most likely very lonely, you would cry too, seeing everybody having friends and looking happy, like petals that are beautiful and multicolored. What we thought was a metaphor about a train and a bough, about people and petals, now looks like it is not a metaphor at all, but a statement about the loneliness or what is inside the speaker. But we thought the poem had a persona who should not be the lumikha or the poet, but something created by the words. Well, that is what new criticism tells us. But we just said that Pound is a stranger in Paris. This time, we are contradicting ourselves. In fact, if we think of this poem long enough, we will find that we will always come up against contradictions. Why apparition? Are the people ghosts? Or is it simply that they appear suddenly as the train comes to a stop? Is the train stopping? If it stops, it would not look like a bow, but a train. It would look like a bow if it was moving. But if it were moving, how can we see the faces at the windows? Is the poem really talking about the people inside the train? Or the people waiting for the train? Is the train alive like a tree? Are we simply products of trees or nature like petals? Or are we what make trees beautiful? Are we flowers? Are we petals? We will get all mixed up trying to think the poem through. But that is exactly what deconstruction wants us to do. Deconstruction wants us to continuously contradict ourselves. Literature, according to the deconstructionists, is something that can be read to mean opposite things. That is the test of a true work of literature. The more self-contradictory meanings a work has, the better a work it is. What it tells us is simply this: we should not assume that there is only one meaning of a work. Even a short work like Ezra Pound's 2-line poem contains so many meanings that we can never exhaust them. Many, I would say all of the meanings, contradict themselves. All the words lie. Literature lies. But that is why literature is great. It admits to lying, to weaving fictions, to creating worlds that don't exist and will never exist. This is Isagani Cruz, inviting you to watch other lessons in the series, A Telecourse for Students and Teachers of Literature.